Hey, if you were a fan of Steve Perry or the band Journey, I think you're really going to enjoy this video. So one of the things we do on this channel quite a bit is we go back into old newspapers, periodicals, look for concert reviews, record reviews, kind of forgotten interviews with stars and things. And we're going to do something like that today, but I found something that's really unusual. And I'm going to explain this to you. It's really cool what I found. So I was going through some letters to the editor in some newspaper. It's the Pittsburgh Press. And I was going through these and I found this letter that referenced Steve Perry. And I thought, oh, letter to the editor about Steve Perry? So I start reading this thing and it's so interesting because what this person wrote a letter to the editor on this newspaper basically telling them that the concert review that they had done like a week earlier for Journey, the concert review was all wrong. And was explaining that how the person that had reviewed the concert in this newspaper got it wrong. So I read this and I think, oh my gosh, now I have to go find find the concert review to see what it was about that thing that was wrong. And so I immediately went and started doing some investigating, and I found the newspaper that the original review was in, that she was referencing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this concert review to you. And then what'll be interesting for you to do is pick out the things that you think she has a problem with. And if you're a Journey fan, you'll probably be able to pick them out. Now, if you remember things about letters to the editor, this is so interesting because this is not only is it a cool thing reading about Journey, but it's kind of this peek into the past. Because today we take it for granted that somebody puts something out, writes an article or something, and you can immediately put all your thoughts and comments on it. Back then, of course, it wasn't like that. Somebody puts something in a newspaper, and what do? You read, somebody writes it, it goes into the newspaper the next day or so, and then you read it when it comes to your doorstep. You have a problem with it, and so you write a letter, mail it into them, and then if they feel like it, they'll put it in the letters to the editor area of the newspaper. And then what they would do frequently, and I'm pretty sure they did with this one just because of the length, they'll edit down your letter and just take the key points out of it so that it just doesn't take up too much space. And so it's the letter to the editor that I'm going to read to you after the concert review is not very long. You can imagine it probably would have been a lot longer, but it's still interesting when you hear this and when you put these two things together. So when you hear this concert review about Journey, see if you can figure out the things that she would have had a problem with, first of all. And then also, what is your experience with this? Now, I saw Journey. This newspaper is on October 6th, 1981, and the album Escape came out in July of 1981. And I actually saw Journey on this tour. It was actually my first concert. My dad took me to see it. I would have been 13 years old-ish when we went and saw this show. Now, this is one of the copies of Escape that actually, I don't know if you can see it in that camera, but has the embossing. Not all of them did, but all these little shards are all embossed. And so this is what Journey Escape looked like if you had the album. And it had this little scarab thing, whatever it was, that was kind of thematic on some of their records. And you flip it over, and then that's kind of the pretty simple back. And I actually really liked the inside of this record just for a couple of these cool pictures. I don't know what it was, but I actually thought that was kind of a cool shot of the band. And there's the little spaceship there in the background. And then this, of course, was the first album that had him. This is Jonathan Cain. He was formerly with the Babies. It was Greg Raleigh that was the keyboardist. As you probably know, Greg Raleigh was a keyboardist and singer in Journey prior to this album. And then on the other side, I thought this was kind of, at least at the time when I was a kid, I thought that was cool too. Had all the lyrics and had the guys running down the side there. And then the Escape written, which was kind of a neat thing, the way they did that, the way they wrote it. It's ESCAP, obviously, but then they have the 5, 4, 3 built into the word, which kind of goes along with their space theme that they had when, with all these albums up until this point. Frontiers, of course, they kind of changed gears a little bit, and you could tell the band was changing dramatically by the time Frontiers rolled around. But anyway, so just that's context. This concert review is on the Escape tour. For me, remembering the Escape tour, it was so long ago and I was so young, it's obviously kind of fuzzy. But when you read this still, there are certain things in here that just don't sound right. And you'll see what I'm saying because of just the way this person perceives Journey. To me, if you've followed this channel for any length of time, you know I'm kind of a fan. I love Journey. Anyway, I'm a fan of this group, and I love Steve Perry as well. He's just one of the most spectacular. Not only did he have an amazing singing voice, because it's just hard to deny that. The guy just had this uniquely special voice. And not only did it sound good, he knew how to present it. He just had this excellent way of singing. I mean, he was just fantastic, just a once in a lifetime kind of talent. But there's a lot of people that can sing, and a lot of people have great voices. But he had this other special talent and charisma when you got him in front of an audience. And so I saw him on this tour. I actually saw him a few years later on the Raised on Radio tour, and I took a girl with me to go see that on a date, and I remember just being in that room again with him. And there's 18,000 people in this place, and he had this ability. And those of you that saw him in concert know exactly what I'm talking about. He had this ability to just reach out and just somehow take that audience on a journey. You just felt it. It was amazing. I remember at one point, the reason I remember this is because at one point, he's just standing on stage just talking, and he's kind of pouring his heart out, thanking everybody. And the way he did it, I mean, here I am, this, whatever it would have been, 17, 18-year-old kid at the time. I don't remember exactly what year that was, but he's talking, and you feel it. And I remember I got, for just this brief moment, listening to him, and I got choked up. I'm like, what the heck? And I'm sitting there with this girl that I'm really interested in. I'm like, dude, keep it in, man. I mean, it was so incredible that this guy had this ability. How do you explain it? Anyway, so when I read these concert reviews about Journey, I mean, I have these preconceived things about what it was like in those experiences, but you go watch. A lot of that old concert footage is online. You can find it, and you see him, and you just go, even on this small screen you can still kind of get it. See what he was like. He had this charisma that you just couldn't, that X factor, that thing you can't really put your finger on. So he was this incredible singer, and he also had this unique gift of just being able to grab this audience, this massive group of people, and just bring them in. So they're right with him. He was amazing. So so here we go. So this is in the Pittsburgh Press, October 6, 1981. So this is again, August, September, 3 months. This album has been out for 3 months. They're on tour, and the title of this concert review, you can tell that the person was not impressed by the title. It says Journey concert turns out to be monotonous trip. And then there's a photo there on the side of the guys. Journey performed last night at the Civic Arena. Band members are clockwise from top: Steve Smith, Middleshawn, C. Perry, Jonathan Cain, Ross, Valerie. All right, here we go. The trouble with a band called Journey is monotony. From Steve Perry's harsh and high voice to Neil Sean's endless, frenzied guitar licks. Again, just be listening for the things that you'd imagine somebody would write in rebuttal to this concert review. Like so many over-energized hit factories, Journey delivers too much fast and furious noise, too little danceable rock and roll. How in the world did this California quintet become the numero uno band in the States, as Perry boasts? Slim pickings? Despite slick professionalism and doubtless ability among its members, Journey appeals to a limited and decidedly young audience. Judging from the endless Journey t-shirts, It was a crowd of confirmed devotees for whom Journey could do no wrong. Average age at last night's sellout Civic Arena engagement looked to be about 17. The comers seemed thrilled with the fare, the traditional 90 minutes of past hits and new Escape album selections adding up to 17 prime cuts with inaudible lyrics delivered tightly with barely a break. Bam, bam, bam. Where Were You, Line of Fire, Don't Stop Believin', Stone in Love, and Keep on Running briskly launched the evening with lead singer Perry pulling out his Mick Jagger moves and racing around the stage in a cutaway overcoat, jeans, t-shirt, and sneakers. Maybe it's his long, loose hair that stops the young female hearts. The voice seems... This is so interesting. And we don't know anything about the person that wrote this, but it's so interesting seeing this perspective that people had. You can imagine a lot of these writers are maybe some older people that are like, hey, can you go see the Journey concert and write something? Like, do I really have, that you'd imagine that happened. And so that may lead to some of these reviews. The voice seems mostly grating and overworked. When Perry turns down the volume and slips into a soulful phrase, he's wonderful. But the moments come too infrequently. Individually, Journey's players deserve high praise. They're excellent musicians. Ross Valerie on bass, Steve Smith on drums, Neil Schon on guitar, and delicious newcomer, ex-baby, Jonathan Cain on keyboards and guitar. And I think we talked about that just a second ago. Cain may be Journey's ace component now that Santana School founder Greg Raleigh has left the 8-year-old group to solo. So just so you're clear, and everybody maybe already knows this, Journey is, for all intents and purposes, a spin-off band from Santana. And Neil Schon and Greg Raleigh left Santana and then formed this band Journey. And after 3 albums, they were going nowhere. And then enter Steve Perry. And Greg Raleigh, who had been handling the lead vocals, then Steve Perry comes in, and then Greg Raleigh is now sharing lead vocals with Steve Perry. But Steve Perry is just so awesome, he kind of takes over eventually. All right, so let's see here. So that's why it said Cain may be Journey's ace component now that Santana School founder. That's what they mean, Santana School founder, because Greg Raleigh had been in Santana. And if you ever heard the song Black Magic Woman, for example, got a black magic woman, at least the Santana version of it, Greg Raleigh's the one singing that, just so you know. It's Cain's deft fingerwork at the keys that ushers in the bittersweet Journey hit, Who's Crying Now, a high point last night. Cain worked out on a red baby grand piano, crowned with a synthesizer. He's great, plus his voice mellows out Perry's. And that's one of the things that I do remember about that concert. I don't know why it sticks out to me, but I remember this massive red grand piano sitting on the stage. And of course, that was what Jonathan Cain was playing. And, Don't Stop Believin', and all the different Open Arms, all that stuff was played on that big piano. And guitarist Sean can sound like Roy Buchanan when he wishes. And that is the weirdest reference to pull out. Roy Buchanan, of all people in the world to pull out from a guitar standpoint. I know almost nothing about Roy Buchanan other than he was a blues guitarist singer. I don't know what band he ever really played. Anyway, just kind of an obscure reference from a bygone era. There's so many other people that they could have pulled out. But anyway, Roy Buchanan when he wishes. But Sean too often plays like a distempered dog, attacking his guitar rather than courting it. The perpetual grimace is old and boring, like the constant convulsing on stage. Though least flashy, bassman Valerie and drummer Smith provide the tightness. And by the way, within 2 albums, both those guys gone. And so anyway, it's just interesting, again, looking at this and people's perceptions on it. The trouble with Journey is chemistry and uninspired songwriting. This is the part. Chemistry, okay, do whatever you want to with Chemistry. You know, there's stories about what was going on inside the band back then, and power struggles and all that kind of stuff. Fine. Uninspired songwriting. It's again, these people this is all they have to go on. They don't have frontiers. They don't have all the history that we have to know. But it seems like such a misstep to make that statement when you listen to an album like this. This album front to back has so many great songs. I mean, just think about what's on here. Don't Stop Believin'. Don't Stop Believin'. How can you hear that song? I don't care what style of music you love or don't love. I don't care. How can you listen to that song and at least not recognize that it is an excellent song? I don't care who you are. And if you even don't like Journey, you can at least listen to that song and go, yeah, that's a good song. And then the song Stone in Love is a great song. The way it's arranged, the whole thing it goes into in the end, it's done so well. Who's Crying Now? Beautiful piece of music. And just go down. Keep on Running is a great tune. Still They Ride. Beautiful song. The song Escape's good. Lay It Down's good. Everything on here is good. And then you get to the end, Open Arms, which continues to be a classic ever since. Like one of the touchstone power ballads. A lot of people look back to that and say, that was what started the power ballad. I don't want to get into that discussion. That's a whole nother discussion. But there are people that look at that and go, that was really, really when everybody decided that everybody had to have one. So, but it's so fascinating listening to something like that, because it seems so like, and then not just this album, just start rewinding. Go back, just the Steve Perry albums alone, go back into Departure, go back into Evolution. You listen to these things and anyway, just such a strange thing to hear. Anyway, I'd love your feedback on that, by the way. I'm obviously very passionate about this, but okay. The trouble with Journey is chemistry and uninspired songwriting, which adds up to just generic rock. Faster isn't always better. You get the feeling Journey would make better music playing other people's hits, which is hysterical when so many people play their songs. I love this stuff so much. Journey is truly best when it turns down the speed and lays back, and the band, as the band does on Stay a While, the sixth song of the night, and a welcome crowd pleaser. And there was Lay It Down, Lovin' You Is Easy, Dead or Alive. Actually, I think it's Lovin' You Is Easy. Okay, anyway, Dead or Alive and Too Late. Award for Dancing Song of the Night went to The Party's Over, which got everybody up just in time for Wheel in the Sky. Come on. Wheel in the Sky? Talk about an inspired song. Great songwriting. Wheel in the Sky, please. Just fascinating. Yeah, and then the song Party's Over. Talk about a catchy tune to get people singing along with something. Closing the Night, Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin'. Great song. Any Way You Want It. Great song. And Dixie Highway, which I think only ever appeared, I don't think that was ever on a studio album. I think that only appeared on the album Captured. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I think that's the only place you'll ever hear that. We're dished out in 2 encores and joyously welcomed by the throng. Like the band's rock audiences always seem to hold back until the end. Yeah, but this is a unique band in a particular way. There's so many different groups you can go see, and you just know what song they're going to play on their encore because they only have one song. And you'll play the whole night. You're waiting. Oh, look, they're gone. They're off the stage. Gee, I wonder if they're going to do an encore and play X song. Yeah, you just know it. And so with Journey, I look at that, and if I didn't kind of know the way they did things, they could play a half a dozen, maybe 10 different songs that could be their best song on their encore. You just wouldn't know. That's how great their songwriting was. Anyway, again, listening to these different perspectives, especially at the time, is so fascinating. Okay, no complaints, just compliments to the technical crews, set and sound designers who put together a most clean set, complete with Disappearing Staircase for the band a rainbow of neat spotlights, and a little balcony surrounding the stage for lots of romping and leaping. Suspended speakers made for unobstructed views around the hall. The surprise fireworkers, I think it's probably supposed to say fireworks, were neat. Point Blank, that's another band, opened the 7:30 show on the dot. What a welcome change. Trouble with Point Blank, like Journey, was heavy-handedness and a lackluster lead singer, too impressed with himself. Like Journey, Point Blank lives and breathes on heavy guitar licks, which is so fascinating because by this time, I mean, so many of their tunes had started off with these great kind of piano lines. So just kind of interesting. Although Neil Schon was definitely a center point of the band, there was so much heavy keys in these tunes, just great stuff. I read the part about Point Blank because I wanted to get to this last line. The kid in the next seat sized up the night best, said he'd rather have been at a Steeler game. So anyway, just what an interesting thing to hear. And for me, it just seems like, are we talking about Journey? Yeah. Anyway, that's just me. So anyway, now that you've heard that, I'm going to jump over and read to you the thing that I found first, which was this person's letter to the editor about that review right there. Again, I think you'll enjoy this. I have so much fun with this stuff. And it's interesting. This is one of the reasons it jumped out at me. I'm looking at this page and boom, there's a picture of Steve Perry right there. So here we go. This is October 11th. So the other one was October 6th. And I mean, think about that. I mean, right now, you can go down below this video and comment all you want. No one's going to, you can say whatever you want. No one's going to filter it and say, well, we'll put this one on. Wait, they won't. It all goes there. But here, the world we used to live in, if you wanted to comment on something, you had to write a letter. You had to put a stamp on it, mail it in. Hopefully somebody reads it. Hopefully they print it. I mean, what a world. What a different place. So this is like a week later, somebody writing to the editor going, hey, and here we go. Journey concert was moving show. I feel Deborah Deasy's critique of the Journey concert was inaccurate. The concert was far from being monotonous. It was incredibly moving. Steve Perry's voice saturated the Civic Arena with emotion. In Miss Deasy's article, she referred to Neil Schon as attacking rather than courting his guitar. I felt that he did not attack his guitar, nor would I desire to see him court it. It's great. Schon is definitely the master of his guitar. He is capable of creating an unsurpassed aura of sound while blazing across an already flaming stage. I agree that Who's Crying Now was definitely the most memorable point of the night. The lead into this current hit single was dynamite. The participation of the crowd added to the intensity of the song by answering Perry when he called out, "Who's crying?" I would like to congratulate the members of Journey on the excellence of their performance. The stage crew did a superior job with the well-timed special effects and lighting. This concert was the most electrifying I have seen in a while. And that's from Karen Reynolds from Mount Lebanon. So anyway, so obviously they made a few references back, specific references, the attacking rather than courting, the reference to the special effects. It'd be really interesting to hear if those are the things that jumped out to you. And obviously, like I said, the chances are the letter that they wrote to the editor was probably 3 or 4 pages, I'd imagine, of just stuff, and then somebody kind of, brought it down to what they thought were the main things. But even more than that, I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. Because what was your thought about, if you saw them in concert specifically, did you have a similar experience to me? And also, specifically getting back to something that person said about the songwriting, how do you feel about Journey's catalog? And do you agree with my assessment that that basically is, if you didn't know a little bit about what they were going to do and kind of their past, it could be anybody's guess what their encore songs would be, because they didn't have anything really like that. I mean, if somebody said they're going to end up with Don't Stop Believin', I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. If somebody said they're going to end up with Who's Crying Now, I'd be like, okay. If somebody said Wheel in the Sky, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Or if they said Any Way You Want It, hey, that makes sense to me. I mean, there's so many of them that they could end up with, and you'd say, yeah, that was such a great song. That is worth ending a show on. So anyway, again, I'd love to get your feedback on all that stuff that person had to say about it, and how would, if you've seen them in concert, what would your review be like? And then also, from a songwriting standpoint, which of these things stood out to you? And that track list, how many of those songs do you remember, and how many of them belonged in that set? What would your perfect, at least at the time, what's that perfect Journey set look like? Because you go back to those previous albums, at least everything with Steve Perry, and there's gold on every one of them. There's so many great things on each one of those albums. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, there are some times when I break out Departure, I probably have 3 different copies of that thing, maybe more. It's so good. Like I also have a bunch of copies of this one too. Why? I don't know. Just because. And back up in case of fire, I guess. But the Departure, I sometimes go back to that one and go, I don't know, that rivals Escape in how great that album is. So you just get in their library, everything, especially for me, at least, with Steve Perry. I know there are some stalwarts that love that early stuff before Steve Perry. I don't know. I'm a little mixed bag on that. But the stuff with Steve Perry, because I like him so much, there's just gold on everything. This stuff was so good. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I love this stuff, but I'd love to get your feedback on this. There is so many things to talk about when it comes to Journey and this whole thing and what this album was like and how it impacted you. And that would be another interesting thing just to get from you. For me, this was my first concert. And so it kind of has a place in my heart just for that reason too. This whole Escape thing, and I still have the concert, the t-shirt that I got from this. So again, there is a soft spot in my heart for this just because of that. But I don't think that's the main reason that I like it. I truly think that this thing was an excellent album. And I'd really love to get your feedback on that. If you saw them in concert, what was that like? And how did this album impact you? Do you remember when you heard it the first time? And are there any tracks that you kind of tend to, every once in a while, I got to bust that song back out? I have things like that, and there are things on this album where it's like, yeah, I want to go back and listen to that tune again. For me, Stone in Love is one of them. I love the guitars. If you ever listen to that thing, as I recall, they have the 2 guitars kind of hard panned. So because, as you remember, Neil Schon plays the guitar. I think what I was trying to remember is if he's the one that starts. I think he's the one that starts. It's in the key of G, and then he goes around up to a D and back down to the G. And then after going through it once, Jonathan Cain jumps in playing his guitar, and then he fills in the other side. And it's kind of a cool effect, but you have this dual guitar attack, and I just love that song so much. Anyway, there's just so many great things on here. And again, so I'd love to get your feedback on that as well. How this thing impacted you. What if you had go-to songs that you just every once in a while, like I do. It was such a great album. I sometimes just go back and listen to certain songs because they were so awesome. Anyway, love to get your feedback on that. If you're not already following the channel and you made it all the way through to this part of the video, you should be following this channel. And also, please like the video. Like I said, share your thoughts. And if you like Steve Perry and Journey, I am sure you know other people that like Steve Perry and Journey. So I ask you to share this with them. Go down below the video, hit the share button, take that URL, go post it in Facebook, go post it in your chat room, or email it to your friend, text it to them, whatever. And because they will probably enjoy this little kind of walk down memory lane too. And so, hey, with that, have yourself a fantastic day.